as high as they are available. So the answer from myself would be that I would fight very hard indeed to make sure that fees do not rise inexorably in the years ahead. So it's not a yes, no, or maybe. It's a commitment from me that I will do everything I can to get the best thing possible for students in the future.
Okay, thank you. So, Mark, the Liberal Democrats, they are a yes. They are going to cut fees or they're going to reduce fees. Is the Conservatives a yes, a no, or a maybe?
Ours is we will leave them at their present level for the time being, but I just want to make one point if I may, and that's that the present system doesn't seem to be providing any disincentive for young people to apply to university. Last year, 141,000 pupils who were entitled to a university place didn't get one. Doesn't that tell you something about the existing government's priorities on education and why we are anxious to make more university places available?
Okay, I want to move on to the next question. Obviously, it's got quite a few issues. I'm going to bring David in on this question. Thank you. Okay, we've got the third question from Emily Hughes. Emily.
Will student finance arrangements be on time this year?
Okay, this will student finance arrangements be on time this year? This is a reference to the fact that last year, as was raised by Mark, that the student loans company and the student finance company, basically a lot of students didn't receive their funding on time. David Railton.
I don't know.
Do you hope so?
I'll just give a brief analysis of my experience of the system and my friend's experience as well, because I think that will grab the issue for everyone else to answer. Basically, my student finance was fine, but there were many people who found that days and possibly weeks later, and I'm not talking about a small minority. You would always expect there to be like 0.5% of people who filled out the wrong form or whatever, but this was large proportions. This was a quarter of people, certainly amongst my friend group anyway, who found issue with student finance. Now, a few of them, it was just a matter of days, but when the length of time stretches into a week, and they have payments due on their accommodation, for example, or on their rent, then it becomes a real issue. And though the student overdrafts are comprehensive, they're not huge, and you will rack up even more debt, so there'll be compound interest on top of this loan that you're taking out from the student's finance company, just in order to pay off your debts through a system which you counted on for your education. And so another point that I would like to make is that it was totally random who these problems affected, which is a real worry for me, because there is no matter how well you filled out the forms, no matter how quickly you got all of the information in, the problem could still happen to you. So it was totally random who it affected, and in certain cases it did endanger people and drive people into further debt.
Thank you, Derek. Mark Pawsey, assuming Conservatives win the election in May, will student finance arrangements be on time with the Conservative government?
Well, I certainly hope so, but I just think this is an example of government failing to run its administration. They've lost masses of data, leaving CDs on trains. There are so many ways that they failed to manage our borders. There are so many aspects of government that the Labour Party and government have simply failed to get a grasp of. It isn't too surprising that this one went wrong as well.
But that's no guarantee to the students. You're saying you hope so. What guarantee can you give to the students that if they vote Conservative and Conservatives win, that their finance will be on time?
I'm not sure that guarantee is immediately available, but I'm fairly certain that our ministers will do their utmost to ensure that things happen properly and on time.
Does that mean it doesn't matter which party wins the election in terms of student finance then? Whether it's going to be on time? If you're not going to guarantee it, does that mean it doesn't matter?
It means I'm telling you that that's what the situation is. We will do our utmost to make certain that problems like this don't happen again. And clearly any government where there is an arm of government that hasn't performed well previously would be well advised to make certain that it goes right next time. So I would expect our ministers to really get on top of this one and make sure it happens okay.
Okay. Andy King, this happened under Labour. It was Labour that centralised the student the system under student finance in England, and clearly last year it was chaotic. If Labour win, can you guarantee that it's going to be better this year?
I can't issue cast iron guarantees what I can say is that, yes, none of us who are involved in the process want any young people to suffer as a result of the inadequacies of the system. So yes, we must do everything we can to ensure that the service is run properly, and that if there are failures in it, that they are put right.
Would it work better if you decentralised it and worked about the county level as it previously worked for many years?
Well, I think that when we go back to when it was done by the Warwickshire Education Authority, there were very few people who were actually affected by it. Now there are millions of young people affected by it. So it's a massive scheme, and it would be I think extremely difficult to decentralise in the way in which you're suggesting. But again, we must do everything we can. Whatever system we put in place is efficient and doesn't let people down. But there will always be human frailty. I mean, the fact that somebody leaves a CD on a train or something, Mark, is not an indication of a failing government. You know what I mean? I think that is not a very useful contribution to make in this particular debate.
Okay, Emily, just to bring you back in on this, because obviously you asked this question, is this something you're concerned about for starting university, or do you feel that you hope that finance arrangements will be on time this year?
Yeah, because I've heard from obviously last year, because it wasn't just days, it was weeks, and because of it being so random, you're not sure if you're going to get it or not, so obviously it's a worry.
Okay, is there any other points anyone would like to ask, any questions? Yes.
Okay, this is Mark Pawsey. You seem perfectly happy to say in Labour Party that you don't actually give any reasonable ways that they're planning on doing it. I mean, Lib Dem obviously have some ideas of how they're planning to change it. You're saying this is bad, we have no idea what to do. Do you actually have any plans in place?
Of course we do. We do our manifesto, and there will be major differences between the parties when we get to the general election campaign. So I'll certainly make sure that you have a copy of our manifesto, and you can have a copy to see exactly what our proposals are.
Not that
Any
you
other
bother.
sorry, Sam.
It's true.
Mark said that Labour might be CDs on trains in I was wondering, how would Conservatives stop a single person in one of the public sectors from stopping doing that?
Sorry, so I don't want, it's a good point, but I want to stay on it, so the student finance money, to take your point. Sue, the Liberal Democrats, obviously you give us very sophisticated analysis of how things will be reduced. Isn't that going to make it more difficult for the student finance element to get things right?
Well, I hope not. And of course, they've got 6 years to get it right. So that's irrelevant, really. What is interesting is that the student loan company have actually cut 150 jobs from their Glasgow centre, and they've moved 45 of them to Darlington so that they can actually consolidate on one site in the hope that they can be more efficient. To help them do this, they've received some temporary funding from the government to help them retrain and strengthen their present staff, and one would have assumed that they had been properly trained in the first place. And what also surprises me was that the student loan company have been given £20 million more to try to get it right. So that I find is quite shocking. I do hope that they get it right. It isn't actually a part of government as such. The government sort of farmed it out to another company to run. The government actually have to watch over it, as it were, but it is a company that is running, a private company running this loan company on behalf of the government. And so no political party, I'm afraid, can put their hand on their heart and say they're going to get it right.